Welcome to Tamara Lynette Tales. I'm Tamara, and I spill the tea on your favorite reality stars. Married at First Sight After Party, Season 15, Episode 8. So this episode featured Krysten Weeping Willow, also known as Justin, and Stacia. And don't forget that I recently started posting clips of this show on my Instagram at Tamara Lynette Tales, especially for those of you who do not have access to this show. So, in honor of the struggle that Alexis and Weeping Willow are having integrating their dogs, the specialty cocktail was called the Hair of the Dog. It included whiskey, Irish cream, and honey. They show a clip of Nate talking to his friend about being afraid that after he gets to a place of being vulnerable, that Stacia will change up on him. So Stacia thinks it's a valid concern, and then Keisha asked her for an example of Nate not digging deep enough. And she said every question she asked him, he's just like surface. But she did say, in his defense, he never really had anyone to talk to about his feelings, and he was raised by a single father who was very militant. Regardless of whether or not this couple works out in the end, I believe that Stacia pushing Nate to talk about his feelings and encouraging him to go to therapy will actually make him a better person for the rest of his years. Although for some folks, once you crack open that door, the floodgates open and you can't shut them up, so time will tell. So Keisha turned to Krysten and asked how she works through it when she feels like Mitch is holding back. She said, "When I figure it out, I'll let you know." Now, does Mitch hold back? I think part of his quirk is that he doesn't have a filter, right? Then Keisha said, "We saw Krysten talking to her friends about her marriage. Who do Weeping Willow and Stacia talk to about their marriage?" So she looked at Weeping Willow and said, "I know you and Ben are close, but who else do you talk to?" And he said, actually, Ben comes to him more so because he's like a big brother figure to him. So he doesn't really talk to anyone about his marriage. And Stacia said that she doesn't discuss her marriage with anyone either because after having a disagreement and they make up, the friends and family don't forget, which is a good point. And she said during this process, they want you to talk to friends and family, but normally she wouldn't do that. I don't know. I think everyone needs a friend that they can trust with some of their relationship information. You know, that one friend that will tell you are tripping when you're wrong. So they played a scene from their housewarming party where Nate and Stacia were talking about being together only 2 weeks. Keisha asked what it was like to plan the party with Nate, and she said he did a lot of the decorations, he was good at getting everything on the shopping list, and they both loved to dress up, so it was actually kind of fun. So Keisha asked if Nate lives up to her cleanliness standards, and she said yes, she's trying to meet him in the middle. She's trying not to be like so OCD, and it's hard, but it's a little easier transition because it's not her house. She said Nate isn't a slob though. And then Keisha threw Mitch under the bus and said, "Did you see Mitch's house?" And Krysten blurted out, "There were bugs in the shower." And Weeping Willow was trying to justify it, and Keisha was like, no, don't defend this. Don't defend this. Krysten, girl, you better find your voice because he probably has a problem with chemicals and cleaning supplies, but doesn't want to pay extra for eco-friendly products. So unless you want to learn how to become one with dirt and bugs in your house, you better put your foot down. They played the clip where Krysten told Mitch about her fiance cheating on her. Keisha asked if Mitch's kind response changed her perception of him at all. And she said absolutely. He was being emotionally available and not judging her. Keisha asked Stacia what she thought about Mitch's response. She said when Mitch said, "Really?" she thought it was going to be like a typical Mitch response, but he turned it around and she doesn't even recognize him, thrown off because that is not how he normally responds. The fact that Stacia was so surprised that Mitch was so kind to Krysten about that situation, because that's not like him. I mean, the cards are stacking up that Krysten is putting up with way more crap than she should be. Then Keisha asked if he is forever husband material right now, and Kristen's like, yes, he's displaying those qualities. And Keisha asked, what are those qualities? He is extremely honest, almost to a fault. He is very passionate about his family and work, and he's a very hard worker. And she said there are too many to name. But to me, those are all general character traits that could apply to a friend or coworker. She didn't name one that had to do with how he treats her. So they played the scene where Krysten talked about having to purchase metal shot glasses that were 20 times more expensive. She said this was super important to him and he was adamant about taking charge of this party. So this was her first time really seeing their differences in terms of compatibility because it was hard to plan this party. So as for him planning the party, she thought it was nice that he wanted to take charge of something. Krysten, I'm gonna need you to take off those rose-colored glasses and see the difference between taking charge of a situation and being controlling. So Keisha asked her what her friends think of Mitch. She said they had a good time, but they wanted to see more of Krysten in terms of the party plans. So I feel like Krysten is allowing herself to be molded into this man. Like they'll be one of those couples that take on one name like Mitchin or Critch. I mean, if you're gonna lose yourself to someone, don't pick the person whose own family calls him a jerk. So Keisha showed a clip of Lindy cussing Miguel out about insurance and taking his last name. Krysten said Lindy wanted something and Miguel wanted something and they were like just negotiating, and she thinks they really like each other and that's why they're having this difficult conversation. Where Stacia said she thinks being added to insurance after only 2 weeks is a big step, but after all, they are married. But then she said that she sees Lindy's side and she also sees Miguel's side. It looked like she was leaning more towards Miguel's side. Whereas I'm team wait until after the reunion to have these types of conversations. I don't care what reality show you watch. The reunion is where they roll out never before seen clips, surprise guests, and negative details the cast never knew about. If your relationship can withstand the reunion, then go ahead and talk about insurance and name changes. I'm just saying. Then Keisha asked if anyone has seen this fiery side of Lindy. Weeping Willow said no. Stacia said she's seen it. And Krysten said she's seen it, but not with Miguel. Lindy, girl, get it together. Nobody's trying to get cussed out because you didn't sign up for Obamacare. So they showed a clip where Weeping Willow and Alexis fought over the dog being sick and her not knowing it. So Keisha said, Weeping Willow, how was watching that back on tonight's episode? You know, you saw it. Okay, talk about being vague. Mister, that is not an answer. So she says, what would you have done differently? So he said basically what happened was that Newton had a little blood in the stool, but it was dark. So he assumed that whatever it was, he was pooping it out. And as for him not eating, he was eating like half a cup versus a full cup, which can be normal when a dog moves into a new space. So as far as he's concerned, there was like really nothing that happened that should cause alarm. Child, if I'm watching somebody's dog and it was sick, I'm going to tell them everything, because if anything happens, I'm not trying to be responsible for the outcome. If anything, I'm like, I told you he had blood in his stool, not eating, and was throwing up. That's on you. So Keisha said, I know things look bleak, but do you have any hope? He said he does, that he's going to show up and be the best version of himself that he can be. So they play the scene where Alexis and Weeping Willow met at the candy store and argued about communication, where Weeping Willow accused Alexis of enjoying the drama. So Keisha asked, where was Alexis? Did she leave the house after the dog was sick? Did she come back after the vet? He said no. Alexis went home and his first time seeing her was at the candy store. So this part was a little confusing to me because she asked him a two-part question and he answered a blanket no to both. No, she didn't come home after her dog was sick, and no, she didn't come home after the vet, which to me meant she left the dog with Weeping Willow, because their agreement was that he would take care of the dogs during the day, and he was taking care of the dog after the vet, which is where the medication part came in. But he said no, she didn't come home after the vet. Then on top of that, she didn't know that her dog was sick and not eating. But someone in the comments of my video thought he meant that she left with her dog after the poop incident. What do you think? In any case, if I did get it wrong, I apologize to you, Miss Alexis, for saying you left your dog child behind. Anyway, initially he wasn't going to go to the candy store to meet Alexis because he was like really irritated with her. But then later he realized that it wasn't just about him, so he went. He did say that after the conversation at the candy store that he reflected on it and he realized that he was being petty. He could have like handled it differently because his behavior didn't solve anything. I don't know. In the middle of a fight where she's mad at you for not communicating and you respond by saying, I'm just not going to say anything at all. That sounds like a reasonably healthy response to me. So Keisha said, what are you going to do? Like, what is your game plan? He motioned like he was going to have sex to resolve it. Sex with who? She's not trying to share her sugar bowl with you. I really can't wait to see what's going to happen with these two because Alexis seems to lost trust in his ability to be completely honest with her. I wonder if an expert, remember them? If one of them will jump in to give some kind of guidance. Beep, 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 beep. That's all, folks.